is Terry, and it's an excerpt from my memoirs, and it's May 19th, 2023, and it is Art of Whirl weekend, so I'm hoping to go out and whirl today. But I'm going to read this little excerpt about my traveling. I've been joining travel websites of disability. So this is one of my travels when I was younger, a lot younger, like 40 years ago. But anyway, I just put, I discovered that I could apply for loans and grants to study overseas. I declared a humanities major with a French minor. I signed up for French and German classes before I applied for the travel loan. I was thrilled that I got the loans and grants to study abroad. I am a little proud of myself for taking the opportunity to travel. Looking back, I took advantage of funding my travels. I had the most amazing adventure, despite being a homebody and missing home. I was from an economic poor family. My parents may have visited me in Spain, where Louis' father had roots, but he lost his job at that time, so they couldn't do it. One of my sisters decided to join me. I offered her a round-trip plane ticket. This was the year of our bicentennial, 1976. I never flew before in a plane. The newer 747 had to turn around mid-air back to Minneapolis. The pilot says they have hydraulic pressure problems, and I asked the guy in a suit next to me what that meant. Ashen face, he told me. The landing gear. Thank goodness I wasn't that with it. I did not have any fear. Well, I called my folks and told them I'm back in Minneapolis and waiting to go board another plane. When I arrived at Kennedy Airport, NYC, the bus that picked me up was not there. I did not know who to contact. I knew we were to meet at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. I tried to ask a taxi driver how much it would cost to go there. Taxi drivers were all begging me to go with them, and that made me nervous and overwhelmed. I refused. Luckily, a man who was well-dressed and saw this poor young woman on crutches plight. "Where are you going?" he asked me. I told him about my plane delay and missing my ride to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. He told me he was back from Asia, and I told him about my plane that was turned around back to Minneapolis. He was impressed that I was going by myself. "I am going that way. You can ride with me." I was so relieved. We made it to the hotel on time. The student group was in the process of boarding the bus to LaGuardia Airport, where we would board our transatlantic flight to France. I just made it. I couldn't believe the traffic and the noise. The buildings were grand and immense, and the many yellow taxis honking made every movie I saw about New York City come to life. Minneapolis in 1976 was a sleepy burg compared to this big, wonderful city. I loved seeing the Statue of Liberty several times as the pilot circled for our turn to land at Kennedy. The landing was harrowing. You could see the plane behind us. We finally boarded the plane for Europe. My first plane was a new 747. They are so big, I can't believe they can lift off the ground. We boarded our flight to Germany, and it was an Odes DC-9 and looked like it was held together with paper clips and rubber bands. I sat on the wing and I saw a crack on it. Not only that, but we were on the cheap student flight, and we were crammed together with too much luggage. We were on a wing and a prayer. Lucky, I was in denial, like most people my age, so managed to sleep on it. We arrived in Germany 8 hours later, and I was culture shocked. I was at the airport and only knew a few words in German. I met a girl from Brooklyn, New York City, who was also attending Schiller College with me. We could not find the bus to the college. She was a black girl and was real friendly, unlike most black girls from Minneapolis at the time. More diversity in New York City. Our neighborhoods in Minneapolis were extremely segregated. I wasn't aware of it at the time. We were going through the Vietnam War, AIM protests, women's rights, disabilities rights, gay rights, black rights, and I had no idea what it meant. I didn't get involved then, partly because I was exhausted from going to school. and spending 3 years in the hospital in my formative years with very little education and social interaction. And social integration, I'm sorry. I had my German dictionary and managed to go to the ticket office and get a train ticket. Got us on a slow train that stopped at every little town. I was so glad she was with me. It would have been awful if I was alone. I loved the old town's architecture, the beautiful landscape. The train adventure was exhausting but fun. We took a taxi from the Strasbourg, France train station, à la gare. We pulled up in a taxi at midnight to our school. I haven't eaten for almost 14 hours. They gave us a sandwich of some kind when we arrived. I had a fancy room with a big bay windows overlooking a yard. It was a chateau in the Alsace region, bought in 1802 by a baron. He sold it to the Portelis family. Countess Melanie was incredibly beautiful, and she had top salons in Paris and in Strasbourg. Liszt played at one of her salons. Dr. Albert Schweitzer, humanitarian and winner of the Peace Prize, was from Alsace region, was promoted. The chateau was a hospital during French-German wars, was occupied by the Nazis, and was headquarters for them during World War II. The Allies occupied it after the war and was rescued by disrepair and became a school in 1972. This region of France is very interesting. The language is a mix of both French and German. Strasbourg was a border town and developed a pidgin French with a mixture of German. The town was old world and had a huge, dark, scary cathedral with gargoyles in the center of the village square. The cathedral was perfect for the Hunchback of Notre Dame. In our school field trip to Paris, I was so disappointed. Strasbourg Cathedral is far more dramatic than the Notre Dame, and it would be more apt bell tower for Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame. I was a girl from working class Minnesota, and I was astounded at the Napoleonic city frozen in time. Paris was a grand dame with all the elegance and finesse. I was in awe and couldn't believe I was in Paris. Joni Mitchell released her song, I Am a Free Man in Paris. I felt unfettered and alive. My sister and I belted it out. Meanwhile, there were these women in short skirts and jackets that were uniformed standing at the corners. They were sex workers and unionized. Well, I digress. Jeff assured me he was a sailor in the Navy, didn't see any action. So this was a part of when I was talking about meeting my first husband, and he was from the Navy, from Vietnam, and I came in from Europe, and then we met at that time. So anyway, this is just a little bits and pieces of my memoirs. Have a good day, and happy Art of World.